Right, we are now live. So, hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 144 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada, recorded Monday, July 30th, 2018. Once again, I am filling in for our fearless host, Andrew, who is still on sabbatical. I'm Gavin, a business owner, gun enthusiast, hunter, atheist, and CCFR field officer for the GTA.
Good evening, Gavin. I'm Tim, a sports shooter and the owner and operator of Tim's Good T-shirts. They're quite good. I'm also the proud descendant of immigrants.
I'm Matt, a heavy equipment operator in Southern Ontario.
And I'm Marty, hunter and sports shooter in rural Southern Ontario.
Excellent. Welcome, gentlemen. We'd love to hear your feedback about the show, so please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. A version of the show is available on iTunes and Stitcher.
Check the podcast out on Facebook at facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast and Instagram at instagram.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast.
We need your help to support the show. Visit www.patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. The more you pledge, the better the rewards are. You can show you're not a communist by buying a CPP t-shirt for just $19.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Go to the homepage and follow the link on the right.
Excellent. Well, after all of that, it comes to our favorite segment of the show, the segment where nobody gets triggered. What are we drinking? And as always...
We're drinking?
Yes. Yes, we are. And as always, What Are We Drinking is brought to us by Arrowhead Coffee. Arrowhead Coffee is owned and operated by Canadian Armed Forces veterans. They love our country, the true north, strong and free, their family and friends. Join Arrowhead Coffee on their hunt for the perfect brew to raise morale and bring that feeling of home to you, no matter where you are. Portion of all profits help Canadian Armed Forces members, veterans, and their families. So, what are we drinking? Marty?
I'm drinking Spice Box tonight with Coke Zero.
Excellent, excellent. Matt, yourself?
Coors Banquet again tonight.
Another fine choice. Tim, yourself?
Drinking Ricketts Red this evening. Fine Ontario beer.
Very nice. Once again, I am also drinking Sailor Jerry and Coke Zero. So Marty and I are both going to reek of rum tomorrow at the office, which is probably...
Spice Box is whiskey.
Is it? Oh, well, there you go.
Canadian rye whiskey.
Oh, well, shit. Now I got to try some of that.
You drinking Spice Box and Coke Zero, Marty, for the show notes?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
It's set in stone now.
Yeah, I don't have editing power of the show notes, so
only 46 people can edit it at this point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we're going to start this one off much how we started last week about the Greektown shooter. We've had a bunch of updates. We've had a lot of fake news in the week since this sort of has all come out. For those that do actually read the show notes, there's going to be a bunch of links in here to all the articles that we're sourcing some of this information from, because, you know, we like to credit our sources, unlike the actual media. But we're probably not going to go through story by story. We're going to probably just pull out the highlights and hit those for you guys. So I don't know, who wants to kick off with what's happened in the last week, or what's come out in the last week since the shooting?
Well, like, does anyone want to talk about like the fake news? Like, there was a time there, like just the day after we did the episode on the 23rd, where like there was more information seemed to be on foreign media than there was on like local media, which is kind of understandable because it means less to them, and in my opinion, they want to rush and get the sensational news out. But they were saying all sorts of things, like there was an article in like an Indian newspaper that was saying that the man was well known to police as a troublemaker and all sorts of things like that.
Well, yeah, that's part of the troubling thing about this, is that there's been a lot of conflicting news that's come out from, I don't know if I would use the word legitimate, but legitimate news sources. I mean, well-known at the very least, news sources. that, one will say one thing. I mean, like, reports have come out that, ISIS is claiming responsibility. But then another news source has come out and said that, like, this is absolutely false. Like, they may be claiming responsibility, but the likelihood of them actually having any sort of responsibility in this is probably very low. And that lately they've just started taking responsibility for shitty things happening around the world to try and just, like, add it to their resume, whether they did anything to it or not.
Like if someone falls down some stairs.
Yeah.
But what still is conflicting. I'm sure everyone on the panel has heard like several instances of both of these. We've heard both that the gun was imported from America illegally, and also that it was stolen from a Cabela's out in Alberta.
Yeah. I mean, the positive to that is that at least it wasn't him buying it legally. Either way, it was sourced illegally, whether it came from the U.S. or it was stolen. That was, an illegally sourced handgun.
But that's the thing. Like, I don't think it matters to the rabid left. I think the left is going to use this to posture, and it just, if it does come from America, I think that would help the gun
for sure,
gun control folk.
We'll get more into that, I guess, in our next topic. But yeah, like, there's definitely.
You think that if it does come from the U.S., that it would help the anti-gun Canadian crowd,
the anti-gun control crowd? See, if it comes from Alberta, then people are going to be saying, well, if we didn't have handguns illegal in Canada at all, then it would never even come to a Cabela's in Alberta.
Yeah,
which is absurd. Like we've in other like podcasts, if not this one, we've talked about like there have been police officers from the Toronto Police Services who've been caught smuggling illegal handguns into Canada.
Yeah,
but we don't talk about that.
No. But I guess, there's also news reports that have been saying that, this suspect was investigated in 2010 by the police.
Yeah, and certainly there have been reports just today about the suspect doing death threats against his security guard in his building recently as July 5th. Threatening, he said he was going to cut his throat, like, because there was some article, like a news, like it's not in the show notes, but there's stuff going around on Facebook, and they're saying like this he was reportedly a lookout for like a local drug gang, and when he was called upon it by like his local security guard, that the guy, that he was the guard had his life threatened.
So along the lines of this story, I can't really verify this, but a gentleman that I know somewhat works as a security guard in and around that area. He's saying that, they had photo or video evidence of this particular guy and some other people with firearms, and they'd notified the police and sent them stuff, but the cops had done nothing. And that around 10:30 that evening, so sort of just after the shooting, that cops had actually then finally like sent the SWAT team and raided the building that this guy works security at, or works close to, that he's got surveillance on or whatever. I mean, I have no story to link to this, no proof for this, other than this story was told to me by somebody, but we certainly didn't hear anything about this in the paper, which doesn't mean that it didn't happen, because that's the biggest problem with this story, I find, is that we're not hearing anything, really.
I think that stems from, it was just the week before the accident, the incident wasn't an accident, the shooting on the 23rd, when we were told that there'd been a major thwarting of a terrorist incident that was planned to be a van attack that was supposed to be carried out in a major Toronto city, and the RCMP was telling everyone to go and have fun.
Yeah. So there's enough of a thing that we're going to tell everyone that there's something going on, but we're not going to tell you what.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess the biggest, latest, most interesting thing I guess that's come out of this is this guy's brother and the ridiculously large quantity of super fentanyl that this guy had, and the 33 identical 40 cal pistols, I think it was.
And that's really what blew me away. The fact that, like, if you think about this, like, everyone thinks of this as some disorganized thing, but if you look for organization, you go, okay, his brother was arrested with like 32 or 30 roughly identical pistols. So like if these guns came like from a smash and grab in Cabela's in Alberta, and I probably should quit mentioning the name, but a gun store in Alberta, like, what are the odds that you would just go grab there and start just, I just imagine they'd probably be stacked like shoes. They'd be like top to bottom, and like it's just, if you went into like a shoe store and were stealing shoes, you would like do big arm swipes of shoes into a sack. You wouldn't like go down like one specific styling of shoes unless you were specifically after one brand of shoe.
Yeah, you'd probably just just like when you see the people on those like shopping spree, like in the supermarket where they've got a shopping cart in 10 minutes and they just like they don't care what it is.
They go right to the lobster. Those assholes.
Yeah.
They ruin everything. Yeah, it's just like there's probably
just like
people that
look at the buffet.
Yeah. But the
Besides,
thing is,
no self-respecting smash and grab is going to steal 40 cal.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Like
45, sure, but 40, come on.
But everyone knows, like, what's the difference? Like 9mm, everyone knows, like, there are organizations in the States that we're talking about going back to the 9mm from the 40 because it's easier to shoot. Marksmanship scores go up if you shoot the 9. A lot of people like shoot the 9 because it's enjoyable and affordable. So why does everyone shoot a 40? Anyone? Why did the FBI go to a 40 caliber?
Supposedly it's because it's got more kick because it's more than a 9, but
a 40 is reported that, from what I've read, the FBI went to the 40 caliber because the 40 caliber will knock a person with body armor down and take them out. It'll knock them out of the fight, whereas a 9 won't. A 45, while a heavier slug, just doesn't have that energy because, like, anyone who's shot a 40, it's a completely different round, in my opinion, than a 9. I've shot 40. I've shot 9, I've shot 45, I've shot like 44, 44 hot 45 Colts, I've shot 500 Smith & Wesson. And like out of all of those, like the 40 caliber, as far as I'm concerned, has a really brisk, sharp recoil. Like,
yeah, it's snappy.
It's snappy. It's a lot of energy you're unleashing. So the fact that these guys have like 30, 40 caliber difficult to attain, like, compared to 9mm like handguns, it's either that was all that was left at the store that they broke into, or they were specifically chosen for like I'm saying, because of their stopping power.
Yeah, I doubt that was all that was left, because I can't imagine that many people shoot 40. So to me, they probably specifically went after that, especially like that volume.
Maybe they were just trying to reach major power factor for competition.
Possibly.
Maybe they just want to get in the sport.
They could also shoot 6.5 Creedmoor.
Oof.
That might explain the 40.
All right. Good night, everyone. We'd like to thank you all for listening to the podcast.
But yeah, I mean,
but it's just like, again, it all comes together with his brother, and his brother was caught with you mentioned the super fentanyl, and there's like a drug called a carfentanil, which I was trying to get like a drug expert on tonight, except I gave him too short notice because it just clicked at the last second that he seemed to be active on Facebook. But this guy like works in the pharma industry, and he's talking about the different drugs. But the thing is, carfentanil is like 100 times more deadly than fentanyl, and fentanyl is in the news all over the place. Like, so, like,
that's the big drug that everyone's having problems now with them ODing, because even fentanyl is hard enough to like dose correctly.
Yeah, it is. Like fentanyl, if you have a grain of rice of fentanyl, you're dead.
Yeah.
And carfentanil is like a grain of sand.
Yeah.
It's like 100 times more powerful than fentanyl.
Yeah, it's
So-
and like fentanyl is fucking crazy. Like when I was in the hospital with my burn, that's what they gave me, and like I was flying high, man. Like I don't remember a fucking thing with that stuff. I couldn't imagine like super fentanyl.
Oof.
Well, the carfentanil isn't that like there? I saw something where it was like it's been theorized that it could be used as a chemical warfare type thing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And
yeah.
these guys had what, like 30 something, 40 something kilograms?
42 kilograms, I believe. And what I'm seeing is the estimates is that this is enough fentanyl to be a lethal dose for 50 million people.
Yeah, like if they just dump that in a water supply,
So like
everyone's fucked.
if I'm or like if they were to dump it in like 40 water supplies across like
Yeah.
that would be like a chemical weapons attack, and it would be like there's some places online were saying, did we just avoid 9/11 2.0?
Yeah.
And it's just like I said, if you look for the organization within the chaos, and I'm just thinking, why did this guy have like 42 grams of carfentanil? That's significant.
Which is the largest bust anywhere in
Yeah.
North America, I think they said of this stuff. Like that's way more than people that are selling this for money.
All
Like, this is-
centralized.
I think
Yeah.
the doctor was in a coma. They figured just from it being in his house, not even opening.
Yeah, because the brother is
When
in
he
a
set it
coma
down,
from
the
a
dust kicked up.
Yeah.
And touched his skin. Yeah.
Yeah. Like this is like there's a lot of shit that's not coming out about this, and then like when it does, immediately after another news report comes out with conflicting information. Like so it's so hard to tell what is and isn't true. And
Well, it's like you speak about like you joked about the 6.5 Creedmoor. Literally, it's like if a gang went out there and said, we're gonna have all our guns as the 6.5 Creedmoor. It's like, holy shit, like your ammunition is now like
yeah.
40 times as rare, 3 times as expensive. Like like it's just the fact that
Yeah,
they
but-
A reason.
Hey, ammo costs mean stuff to us because we shoot a lot. But like,
And we pay for
box-
it.
and we pay for it. But when like those guys aren't like they're not going through a high round count. I don't think they're not practicing
No.
regularly.
Are you
No,
talking
and
about
I
the
guess-
Montreal police, or are you talking about the gang?
Both.
Okay, can it be
Yeah, a
both?
little column A, a little column B.
The
Yeah.
gang members probably have a higher round count than the Montreal police officers, though. But I guess, yeah, when you've got like bajillion dollars for 42 kilograms of carfentanil, what's a couple of boxes of 40, right?
Well, actually, like I read a paper from the FBI, and they were talking about the rise of the training of the criminals, and they're talking about there are criminals like you're not running across these people like you were in like the 80s and 90s, where like they had a 38 special and they had 4 bullets for it, and they hoped that the rounds were under the hammer when they pulled the trigger. Like they were talking about these people would get away and they would fire their guns and run shit. They're talking.
Yeah.
There is an increase in organization in crime. The crime is
for
organized
sure.
because it is a business and because it's
Yeah.
lucrative. So
I was listening to another podcast earlier today about a
What?
guy that was there
there are other podcasts.
there's
This
a few
thing's taking off.
there's a few pod carts as well, but this was
Look what we've done.
a podcast, and
Is it live?
yeah, the one I was listening to was about a guy that was a counter narcotics officer down in Mexico, and he was saying that when they went through their training, the firearms portion of their training was at the very end of their training because they were like basically infiltrated with cartel members. So they didn't want to teach them how to be gunfighters. So throughout the whole like 9-month long training course, they're constantly weeding people out. But I'm sure like if that's happening there, I'm sure that's happening everywhere, right? Like, they're sending people out into these different organizations to train and learn how they work. And, when they go through that, they're getting the firearms and the combat training and the medical training and everything else that goes along with it. And that just makes them better organized and better trained than, like you were saying, like the guys that just had like a shitty 38 special with the hammer filed down and probably like the front of the trigger guard taken off so that it fits in their pocket better, and you know.
Another. But ISIS claims responsibility. The cops claim there is no ISIS responsibility.
Is there a dollar figure for how much the 45 kilos of carfentanil is worth?
There is. I don't have the article open, but there is a dollar value in there, a very high, ridiculous dollar value.
Okay, does this guy have the means to be able to afford that?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so who's funding it?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, either he's stolen it or amassed it somehow through alternate funding. But again, like, that's part of the problem with this is like we've got a lot of questions with no answers.
So it's one thing to say like, oh no, they're acting alone, but if they're well beyond what their resources can acquire, well then, like,
how do you get 42 kilograms of carfentanil? Yeah, like that's a shitload of narcotics. Yeah, it was somewhere in the millions or something of dollars, but this would have been worth like that. You know, there's no way that these two guys that don't have jobs, or at least don't have like highly lucrative jobs, could easily.
13 million.
Yeah.
There we go.
$13 million.
$13 million. That's unlucky. You know, that's just.
So also, I'm just going to point out that we mentioned how like there's 50 million lethal doses.
Yeah,
it's 50 million lethal doses per kilogram.
Yeah,
they said like 50 million lethal doses per kilogram.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
and it's 42 kilograms.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then they had enough carfentanil to wipe out all life on North America.
Pretty well, yeah.
And including Central America.
Yeah. Yeah, if they had somehow got that into the water supply, or, you know, just dropped a couple of granules on the food at the supermarket. Like, I mean, even if they didn't manage to, like, deliver lethal doses, I mean, imagine people that don't realize they're high all of a sudden get in their car and start driving. That alone is going to cause accidents and death right there, right? So like that one person that's not going to OD but is really messed up crashes into 6 cars on the highway. Right? Like this could have been something crazy serious that happened.
Yeah. The lethal dose of carfentanil is as low as 20 micrograms, so 21 millionths of a gram.
How many grains is that? I'm Googling.
How many doses are in
8,000 grains in a pound?
7,000 grains in a pound.
7,000 grains in a pound.
Wow.
20
micrograms is 0.0003 of a grain. Now, if any of you guys are match shooters out there,
that's a lot less that's in a 40 cal bullet.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, there's
that's significant.
There's not a lot of velocity spread with that.
Yeah.
Who the hell is making this product at all? Like, we need to like turn that country or place into like a big freaking class creator.
Yeah. What is like? Where did this come from?
That's what I mean. It's like concentrated evil.
Yeah. and I can't imagine, like, I mean, there are legitimate uses for a lot of things. Like I said, like I was in the hospital and had fentanyl, but like if this is even stronger than fentanyl, and like all you need, like 1 grain is enough to kill somebody, like how are they splitting a grain of this at the hospital?
No, dude, what did he say? It was 0.0003 of a grain?
All I know, I ran Google. 20 micrograms is 0.000.
Right, like so like what is the legitimate use of this? And how did they not notice that 42 kilograms of this didn't go where it was supposed to go?
It's like there's like someone who owns a lab and they send people into it and they come out and then just go,
Yeah.
damn, that shit's good. Everyone dead.
Yeah, it's not like we're talking that like,
We need to divide it. We need to divide it smaller, and then like stick it on the end of our tongue or whatever the hell you do with this shit. Like,
yeah, like we're not talking about like 42,000 aspirin that went missing that nobody would notice.
Like
right?
this is not getting nearly enough coverage as it should.
I don't think it is.
No, because nobody wants to talk about this because it's scary. Like,
but like, and again, like this isn't new. This is just we're talking about it now.
Yeah, because it's relevant to something else now that makes sense.
Right,
like when this guy was caught, they were like, "Whatever, it's just this guy. We caught it. It's done."
Oh, we caught a drug dealer, guys.
Yeah,
it's like he like I don't know if this is a drug dealer now because he could never sell this much ever.
Yeah, like this is enough product for his entire supply for his whole life. Like.
Yeah, the last bust was only 1 kilogram, and that was the largest at the time.
Yeah, this is 42 times that. Like,
again, like he's got enough here to wipe out North America.
Yeah. And South America if we don't build a wall.
Yeah. Yeah, so like either there's something super nefarious or this guy was planning on throwing the largest party that anyone has ever seen.
But that's what they were saying. Like the police were saying there's no way they could possibly get rid of this amount of drug ever. Like literally you can't peddle this shit.
Yeah.
Not ever.
Yeah, like he's setting up like his great grandkids to be drug kingpins because he's bought the supply for all of the generations leading up to them.
It's an investment.
Yeah. Yeah. Like.
Oh shit! It's like when the Chinese take a 40-year mortgage so their grandparents, your grandkids could get the buildings.
Yeah,
and then they own the whole block in 2 generations. But different, completely different. Because that's legal.
Yeah,
that's legal.
And that's actually looking out for them rather than being totally evil. Like
not killing dozens of people a day.
Yeah. All right. I guess, like that's, I'd say a fairly decent update on the ridiculousness that's happened.
There is one other thing that I think has been glossed over. And what blew me away is I just heard about this today because I was like, oh shit, like I got to be like an expert in this crap in like 3 hours. But I started looking. But
I've got all this beer to drink.
And I have all this beer. So I drank the beer and I'm becoming an expert live on the podcast. It's the way it's a Canadian way. But here's a story that was published on July 24th, which was the Tuesday, and it was updated on July 25th. And this was interesting. Toronto police search for clues to killer's path. This is the Globe and Mail. In the final moments of a mass shooting on a crowded Toronto street, attacker Faisal Hussein came face to face with a frightened resident. Armed with a handgun and moments from his own death, he told the man he would be spared. "Don't worry, I'm not going to kill you," Mr. Hussein said. That's the shooter of the Danforth. And then it turned out that moment like this, Jaspal Singh was cutting through a laneway on his way to his restaurant on the busy Danforth Strip when he ran into the gunman. And on Tuesday, Mr. Singh's wife, who asked for her name not to be used, although she apparently let her husband's name be used, confirmed the details of the encounter to the Globe Mail outside their home. She said her husband was still shaken up and not ready to speak with the media, but she said the province's Special Investigations Unit had been there that morning and interviewed him. So what I was doing, because like the victim,
you're wondering how a guy with that last name has a restaurant in the Greek area?
No, I was looking for patterns in how the attacker chose them, because like the first thing that came out, first of all, there's like a 10-year-old girl and an 18-year-old girl. Mm-hmm. I was thinking, well, like, was he attacking only women? And I was like, no, like 7 of the victims, or I think 8 of the victims were male, 7 of the victims were female that didn't die. But when I combed through the names after reading this, the fact that he let a guy called Jaspal Singh away, I started looking at, there was like possibly, like, if you look at the names of the victims I could find, they're all Chinese and possibly Caucasian names. So
Yeah, which is funny because I at one point one of the articles or something that I read was that he was going through the cafe or was shooting at the cafe or whatever he was doing and was shooting at people and was letting minorities go and only shooting at white people.
yeah, but where did you hear that?
I mean, I saw that in an article that was posted on the internet. But again, like that's the problem with this is that like there's so much from both the left and the right that's come out that's just like absolute nonsense that you have no idea what is truth and what isn't. Like
Yeah, but the media, that's the thing, you got to look for when the media is silent. And the first thing I was saying, like they said, oh, here's a victim and here's a victim, and I was like, well, our two deceased victims are both female. So I was like, okay, you got to look at when the media isn't saying something, because when the media wants you to believe something and think something, they'll shriek it like 14 times a day, and you got to look at what they're not saying, and you got to look into that. And what I was thinking is, first of all, were all the victims female? That was my first thought.
Yeah,
and it turned out they weren't, which was kind of surprising because I thought we were going to go down a whole Gamil Garby Polytechnique thing. But we didn't.
Well, that was kind of the other thing too, right? Which one of the other things I heard right off the bat was, oh well, this is another incel attack, and he's just targeting women, and
Wow.
But it looks like that's not the case either, right?
Yeah, that was interesting. It was actually on the YouTube chat. One guy we know was actually saying that one victim was an electrician on his job site. So, but anyway, that's kind of interesting. I wish I'd known that before we started the show. But the thing is, when this happened a week ago, I said Canadians deserve an honest and thorough and transparent investigation, and we are not going to get that.
Yeah,
right.
So I just try to do the best, and it just when I find a story like the fact that this Singh guy ran right in face to face with the guy in an alley, and the guy said, "Don't worry, I'm not going to shoot you."
Yeah,
but the media is saying, "Oh, he's just despondent and depressed."
Yeah, there's a lot that needs to be answered still, and I don't think we will ever get those answers, which is the scary part.
Well, we'll do our best, but eventually it's just going to become like 100% rumor. And
it's going to get memory hold like everything else, and the next thing that happens, like Ford's probably going to say something stupid, and everyone's going to forget about this, and we're going to start like, well, how could he say that? And they'll just start talking about that. And
is that a segue? Do you want to segue out of this?
Well,
I still don't even have video from Vegas yet.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. I was arguing with someone, and Michelle Rempel was actually doing a speech about gun control and its ineffectiveness. And I said, right on Facebook, I said, right on Michelle's speech, I said, gun control disarmed everyone, all the victims at the Danforth.
Yep.
And some guy came on, some asshole. He came on and he said, oh, just like they did at the Vegas shooting. And I was just like, it's like, come on, that's pretty. Yeah. You're grasping pretty good. First of all, you didn't change my narrative at all. Second of all, you're talking about gun control in Vegas. Come on.
Yeah, but I think that is an excellent segue into our next topic, which is gun control.
Vegas.
Yeah.
Vegas.
Yeah, we're
going to Las Vegas, jerks.
We have a new sponsor. It's Las Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Discounts on Hookers and Blow. Enter promo code Patriot.
Yeah.
Buy 7 hand jobs, get the 8th free.
But yeah, I guess as a result of this shooting and several others, but this one specifically sort of was the straw that broke the camel's back that pushed, all these, counselors in Toronto together to vote. And what was it, like 41-4 or something like that?
41-4, yeah.
That voted in favor of banning the sale of handguns and ammunition inside of Toronto.
Sounds to me like there's 41 too many counselors in Toronto.
Well, that's going to be the segue to our next topic, but yeah. So I guess they've people think that gun control is going to stop this, but as we kind of talked about a little bit previously, is that like this gun was sourced illegally. So I mean, short of it banning guns throughout the entire country, if this gun was stolen from a legitimate gun store, nothing would have stopped this. And even then, if guns were banned entirely in Canada, I really don't think this would have stopped this either, because, they still could have got it illegally from not a store, but like Canada and the US share the world's largest undefended border. So there's plenty of places that people can sneak guns across without anyone seeing.
Carfentanil is illegal, but that guy seemed to acquire 42 kilograms of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is kind of like the equivalent of acquiring like 28 million handguns.
It's the equivalent of acquiring a nuke.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep. You might as well actually, if you found a nuke, if you were to apply your utmost intelligence and plan for years, Marty, would you rather have a nuke or 42 kilograms of carfentanil if you were to do mass harm?
Hold on, I've got a really, really important question here that we got over the Facebooks. So apparently, one of our listeners' daughters wants to know from Tim what a hand job is and why anyone wants 8 of them.
A hand job is an exercising device. It's an exercise in free market exchange of goods and services.
Let's be honest, Tim. It helps you when you're controlling a 40 cal.
Yeah, it certainly does.
It's a wrist exercise.
Yeah.
Sometimes
for the price of 7, that's just a bargain.
Sometimes when a woman loves money very much,
Very snack.
Yeah, because they certainly don't like giving them. That's for sure.
So to answer your question, if you're trying to do the most amount of damage, essentially, if you were trying to take the most amount of lives possible, I would think the carfentanil would be more effective because you could spread it out.
yes.
So like a nuke, it's devastating in a large but localized area. But with 42 kilograms, as we discussed, you could spread that out across North America and do a lot more damage.
Oh yeah, and without people even really realizing for the first part of it, like if a nuke goes off, it's obvious that a nuke went off, right? Like,
yeah,
that's
and like throughout. Well, depending on the delivery method and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Throughout North America, especially the U.S., like they have, I would assume they have a lot of like measures in place to try to detect those type of things, but they probably don't have anything to detect like carfentanil being added to a water supply
or an air supply or whatever. Like if you put it through like a mall's air conditioning system and it's just blowing the dust everywhere, like
chemtrails.
Yeah, that shit's
Just
scary.
Fucking crop dust it throughout a city or something,
Yeah. But yeah, like I mean, you could cloud seed it because apparently that's a thing, and make it rain down crazy drugs that kill everybody.
You could go to Blockbuster and no, wait.
No, I don't think you could do that anymore. But yeah, like it's. But yeah, the gun ban. You know, like I think there's only like, and it depends on what they mean by Toronto. Like if they mean like downtown Toronto core, or if they mean like the absolute like edges of the Toronto city limits where like you start getting into like other cities now. There's only like 3 or 4 stores in Toronto that actually sell guns and handguns specifically and ammunition. Like that's it. So I really don't think that those handful of stores, if that many, are supplying the thousands of illegal guns in Toronto.
I just was struck. I'm sorry. I really like. I've got to interject. You realize what we're talking about here? Like, we're talking about a handgun being purchased in Canada and used illegally when they were found with 42 kilograms of carfentanil. Yeah. It's literally like if you said like, oh, that Vlad the Impaler, he never trimmed his nails.
Yeah, I know.
It's like,
I know.
It's such a drop in the bucket. Like, this is a huge problem that everyone's ignoring. 42 kilograms, enough to kill like
everyone in North America.
Everyone on North and probably South America.
Yeah, I know. I
know. In one place, and we're talking about a shooting.
Yeah, I know.
That doesn't sound as good as carfentanil.
Okay.
Oh, it looks like we've got a late joiner.
Yeah.
Hey,
2.1 billion people we're looking at.
A representative from the West.
Finally, after months.
Drugs
been a
aren't
long
the
time.
Drugs aren't the problem. It's handguns that are problem, guys. That's what's killing everybody.
And just in the city of Toronto.
Yeah.
I hate it when I overdose on fun.
Yeah. You know, like...
All right. So lethal dose for 2.1 billion people.
Jesus.
Wow. So let's ban 9mm. Let's ban all pistol calibers in the city of Toronto and all hunting rifles, all guns, because carfentanil. Yeah, it's complete horse cockery.
Yeah, we're gonna lose all our handguns because George Soros is pissed that we lost.
Yeah,
guys,
we aren't going to win the war against Soros with carfentanil. It's going to be with handguns, right?
Okay, here. Let's throw out tinfoil hat theory here. What if just saying we're considering a handgun ban?
This segment is brought to you by Reynolds Wrap, by the heavy duty wrap.
Shit, I'm sponsored by Alcan.
Kingsford didn't get here fast enough.
Yeah. Okay, go, Marty, go.
This is enough of the fucking tinfoil references, guys. We got enough.
Okay.
On to Saran.
All right. I will cut you.
I will cut you.
with that serrated blade on the edge of tinfoil.
Great, now we got a ban Saran wrap.
Oh, God. Okay, go, Marty, go.
Let's just say, okay, Bill, let's say, we're considering a handgun ban. That gets everybody all riled up about the handgun ban. Meanwhile, we stop giving a shit about C-71.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly where I was going to go.
C-71 goes through because everyone's like, okay, we're distracted from C-71. Like, okay, C-71's going through, whatever. Let's just fight about this handgun ban that they're talking about now.
I don't know. All I have to say is that I think that Tory's going to end up being a bigger gun salesman than Trudeau or Obama was, because I made sure that for any of you listeners that have heard me talk about my girlfriend Angela, who's also been on the show before, I made sure that on Sunday we went and purchased her a gun, specifically a handgun, so that if there was any sort of stupid shenanigans in Toronto, she's got one before any stupid ban. Not that I think they would ever be able to accomplish it, because
specific in what gun, Kevin?
Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0.
Oh, really? Are they in the news at all lately?
No, not that I've seen.
Was it at least a 40?
No, 9 mil.
Yeah.
9 mil.
But still, that's smart.
I mean,
like, how, like, logistically, how are they going to ban these handguns? Well, they're going to make law-abiding gun owners criminals and not monetarily compensate millions of law-abiding Canadians.
So currently, at least in Toronto, they're not looking at banning the ownership of them. Simply the legal sale of handguns and ammunition for handguns within city limits, which basically knocks out like 2-3 stores max. That's it.
There's 2 handgun bans being discussed. One is that the city of Toronto, the councillors have voted towards a handgun ban.
Yeah, and then that spurred on them to go to the federal government to urge them to ban handguns outright.
Yeah. And all Goodale has said is that he hasn't. He said he's contemplating it, but he could also be contemplating, which side of Trudeau's nut is bigger than the other. Like, it doesn't. It's just hearsay right now, and that's kind of like you said.
Well, that's implying that he even has any to begin with.
Hey, I didn't say it, but regardless, this is going to put 3. You said 2, maybe 3 Gavin stores out of business.
Well, and I wouldn't even say it puts them out of business per se. Just they wouldn't be able to legally sell. But for any of our listeners in Toronto, there's probably not many of you, but for any listeners that are, I've started a new business. It's called Dial a Bullet. You call me, and I will come and deliver any guns and ammo to Toronto that you need, because that's not going to be illegal.
Oh, the delivery is.
Oh, that's.
Because
I'm not sorry about that.
It's only the sale of them inside the city that's illegal. If they buy it from outside of the city or buy it on the internet and have it shipped in, that's totally legal.
Good going, government. You solved the shit out of that problem.
Yeah. Gang violence is going away now, guys. Way to go, Liberals. On to the next. Right? Like, this is complete horsecock.
Oh yeah, but in the last week since this whole nonsense has sort of been batted around and come out, there was a pipe bomb found in a park.
Oh yeah.
That they ended up having to detonate. So a gun ban's not going to stop that. There's links in the show notes.
For Mario Brothers.
Yeah. Exactly. There's been a handful of other people that have been arrested and had handguns seized in them, and not a single one of them was a legal gun owner. And I would say that 90% of those people, and like there's links in the show notes, that all of them were found with narcotics on them as well.
That makes no sense. If they weren't legal gun owners, where'd they get the guns from?
Exactly. And yeah, vast majority of those people that were found with illegal guns also had illegal narcotics on them. So
whoa, you're saying they don't care about the laws at all?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying, Tim.
Huh. But they probably file their taxes, of course.
Yeah.
Or tax. I bet they don't report taxes either. Oof. But that's the thing, like what I was saying.
That's the worst crime of all. I mean, look at Capone.
You look at Capone, yeah. But I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but like if anyone is talking about this stuff to their friends or family, it's just like a gun control requires compliance. And when it comes right down to it, because of compliance, the only people disarmed by gun control on the Danforth on the 23rd were all the victims and all the bystanders.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, just going quickly here, things that wouldn't be stopped by gun control. The pipe bomb. There was a prohibited firearm that was found. There were 2 other firearms that would seize with drugs. There was another handgun that was found with drugs in Stratford. And then there was 3 more guns that were seized elsewhere. None of those people were legal gun owners. Also, there was the mentally ill recruitment stabber is set to be released. So a handgun ban's not going to stop him from stabbing people in a Canadian Forces recruitment center.
This is like...
That's a knife.
Yeah.
But what about the field hockey sticks? Those.
Well,
are
yeah, there were 2 people that were arrested for pointing field hockey sticks at people. Now, don't get me wrong; they were being dicks about it, and they were pointing field hockey sticks at cars going by, pretending they were guns.
Hockey taped field hockey sticks.
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
Black color covered tape.
So, you know, they certainly
were not females then, right?
They were shooting 40 cal field hockey sticks. Now, they certainly were not being responsible and certainly deserve to have some sort of penalty because, you know, you can't do that, especially in this day and age. Like, if you point something that looks like a gun at me, I'm going to respond like it's a gun. Like they should have done with the guy that did the van attack. But, you know, this is all the stuff that's happening. Like,
does a field hockey stick look like a gun? If this is a stretch.
I can, you know.
I don't know.
Black and long looks like a gun to...
It's like if you're driving by in a car and somebody points something, yeah, that's sort of long and black looking at you. That sounds really bad. I could see how it could be confused. And if they were doing it intentionally to look like a gun, then, you know, they get what they deserve. But, you know, if it was just them messing around on the yard together and not intentionally pointing cars at one another and just people freaking out, then that's completely wrong.
You ever have you guys notice how like there's always very little ammo?
Yeah.
Not in my house.
Yeah, well, that's because you're illegal.
No, but it's like, okay, like the prohibited gun is a Tech 9 with 30 rounds. They were able to get 30 rounds of ammo.
Yeah,
and
they
it's
had
like
one magazine's worth. Like,
right. The next one was a 2 firearms seized, 8 rounds.
Yeah.
Well, because because they all get off on the power of the gun. Like they never intend to use it. Like they're gonna.
No, they just wave it around and look cool. I mean,
like,
I even heard
rookie numbers.
Yeah, you got to pump those numbers up.
Those numbers up exactly.
I even heard a story that on the weekend I was doing some first aid training with my search and rescue group. And a bunch of them also work like security and stuff like that. And it sounds like there was also an almost shooting at the mall near me where there's been a couple of shootings over the years. And a guy had a gun in his backpack that got left like in one of those like mall sitting areas. So security goes and like gets the backpack so that, you know, they can take it to the lost and found or whatever. The guy comes to claim the backpack. But I guess security goes, well, we need to know that it's yours, so can you tell us what's in it? So they go through the backpack and find the gun. They call the cops or whatever and try to like hold up this guy while he's giving the description of the stuff that's in his bag or whatever. And eventually I guess he catches on and bolts. But like, yeah, illegal gun owners don't exactly seem to be the brightest bulbs in the box. So yeah, they're not going to have a whole lot of ammo.
Now, the one gun that I do find interesting, especially, and this is probably the one out of all of the ones we've talked about today, this is probably the one that I could see being domestically sourced, is the 17-year-old on the TTC bus that was found with an SVI Infinity. That's not exactly the gun that I would expect them to be buying in the States and smuggling across. That's, you know, many thousands of dollar gun that this 17-year-old had. Like, this is a gun that's clearly just been stolen from someone that's a competition shooter.
Yeah. So domestically sourced, but still stolen versus a legal gun owner selling it illegally because, that's an expensive gun.
Like, that is an expensive pistol, yeah.
Yeah, and selling that illegally is just going to up the price on it. Yeah. So if you're already starting with a gun...
I don't know. What do you think? I would think I think that there's probably like a whatever price. Like, let's say it's $1,000 for a handgun on the street price. My guess is that there's no way that they're going to be like, oh, that's an SVI, that's a $6,000 gun.
Yeah,
don't think that's gonna.
But then this guy must have had some serious debt that he would have needed to pay off in order to sell that gun for less than it's actually worth. Which I mean is a possible scenario. But like if I was just like a legal gun
I
owner
don't know.
selling guns on the side illegally, I'd be like, so I've got this Tokarev, right?
Right. So I think I would say it'll probably command a higher price than like a Glock, but not that much. Like, I don't think it's not going to get the premium that an SVI normally would get in the legal.
But
I think it's definitely worth a lot less as an illegal gun than it is as a legal one.
Ah.
But yeah, like I don't know. Either way, yeah, that one seems a little.
That one's a bit of an odd one.
A little odd compared to the mix of other guns that usually seem to be the.
Whoa. We don't
norm.
need to go after the Irish with the slang there. You're going out about the mix.
But I guess that kind of brings us to our third topic, I guess, because we've all just proven that gun control does not work and it's stupid.
Speaking of, I'm really battling, and it's over. I've fallen to my lower. Whatever. Tonight, because it's tonight, and it's just because we do the show weekly, there's a 1 in 7 chance we'll actually hit the anniversary of something, and tonight is the 10th anniversary of something, and tonight is the 10th anniversary of the Greyhound bus decapitation and cannibalism in Canada. Happy 10th year anniversary.
Yeah. A decade of decapitation.
And new Greyhound buses have been banned.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, luckily we made decapitation illegal after that.
Yeah.
We did, and really like I go about this with really tongue in cheek, and I've been doing podcasts about some grim topics for a long time.
I think we all have.
Yeah, I think we all have. Yeah, but the killing of Tim McLean was a tragedy. 22-year-old man, just wrong place at the wrong time. But we just the absurdity of the gun control that's probably going to be clamped down or going to be attempted to be clamped down on millions of law-abiding citizens in Canada. When you have someone like I think is it Will Baker now, Vincent Lee. Now known as
whatever
Will
he
Baker,
is. Yeah,
had an unconditional discharge and has absolutely no criminal record at all.
Yeah,
for decapitation.
Well, so he's now on the loose. The recruitment center stabber is set to be released.
Record check every morning, as Canadian firearms owners do.
Yeah, they're now.
He does not need to report his change of address.
Yes.
Yeah. He does not have a background check. No address thing.
Yeah, police.
If he so wanted, he could legally buy firearms.
Yeah, if police go to his address, they won't be a little more hand on the gun because of they're not going to run it by some backdoor registry.
Yeah.
Police can't search his residence without any what's the word?
Evidence. Yeah, without any evidence. Yeah. But him and the recruitment center stabber. So there's going to be two people that are mentally ill that have been proven to be violent towards other people that are set to be free.
No, the Greyhound bus guy, he's been out for at least a couple of years now, right?
Yeah, I think he's I think it was 2017 spring, like February.
Yeah, we covered it in the show when he was released. But yeah,
just the fact that it's the exact 10-year anniversary of the murder
his meds are working for him now.
Well,
But
if
what
he takes
happens
him,
when he-
yeah,
yeah,
if
what
he takes him,
happens when he
but
stops?
like, let's not. Come on, we don't need to govern this guy. We don't need to tell him that you need to
Yeah.
report that you've taken your meds. You don't need to be.
Yeah.
You don't need to report and have your meds like
Just
given
because
you
there's been somebody that's
Come
been
on.
doing that for him for like almost a decade.
Yeah, like but he's not a
fine.
baby. We don't need to be make sure that he's
Yeah.
following his medication and stuff like that. Like, come on, he's just
Yeah, we don't need to be all up in his grill.
No, just
Like,
what's
Well,
he done,
that'd be a violation of his rights, guys. That's
Yeah,
your
no,
problem.
exactly. I mean, the guy's got to earn a living and
Mhm.
go about town and ride the bus, right?
Yeah, really. Like he should be.
Carts that drives around and sharpens knives and lawnmower blades for people now.
Man,
There we
I
go.
fucking hate that guy because every time I think it's the ice cream truck and I go out there and it's just some old shirtless guy in the back of a truck sharpening lawnmower blades.
Yeah.
It pisses me off every time, especially in this heat wave we've been having lately.
Some
What
folks
is this?
call it the
There's a
Kaiser
guy
blade.
in Toronto that sharpens lawnmower blades?
Yeah.
That calls it a sling blade. Yeah.
Yeah,
Why don't you guys sharpen your own lawnmower blades?
Yeah, Jesus, get
I
a
do.
bastard foul for Christ's sake.
Yeah, I do, but
Right.
other
He's got an
people
ice cream truck that he sharpens lawnmower blades in.
yeah. There's or any blade, like he'll do whatever, but like you don't give him good knives because like it's just a guy in the back of a truck with like a grinding wheel that like is slowly driving, like so it's not like
Toronto's a shitty place.
yeah.
Toronto should separate. and become its own.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, and speaking of Toronto, hopefully one thing that's going to make it a better place are these cuts that Ford has done to get rid of like half of the city councilors. So I guess, I don't know, it's maybe not necessarily a reaction to, Tory and his councilors voting for a gun ban, but I'd like to think it is.
Well, and if you want to like pursue that, you could just go like, Ford was one of the 4 who voted against the stupidity of the gun ban because he understands people and
Like,
the fact
yeah.
that laws don't work.
Not different Ford though.
Yeah, like he
Was it?
hasn't.
yeah. He's not a
Okay.
city councilor anymore.
Okay.
It's his nephew.
Oh, it's a different
Yeah.
Ford, but his
Oh.
nephew was on the outs.
So he hasn't come forward and said this, but the timing of it is brilliant. But yeah, so he's cut them from 47 counselors down to 25.
As far as I'm
So-
concerned, he could have cut 37.
Yeah. I mean, and the idea, I guess, is that he has aligned the city ridings along with provincial ridings or federal ridings so that the number of counselors matches the number of seats that Toronto has in the government.
Oh, see, I was thinking like any counselor who voted for the handgun sale ban and the ammunition ban would also
Yeah.
be stupid enough to believe in things like the Tooth Fairy and the Santa Claus.
and it's clearly
That
terrible.
was
and therefore
that was my vote earlier in the podcast
Yeah.
to just get rid of the 41 that were useless apparently.
thank you for
Yeah.
your vote. Your vote matters, and here's how it matters.
I
You're
guess
gone. Get out of
there's
your building.
there's a vote there's a vote coming up shortly in Toronto to hopefully replace all of these people. But at least they've managed to reduce that number because I mean, what is it? Counselors make over $100,000 or something like that in terms of their salary. So like that right there is going to eliminate a lot of cost. Plus, like all the other perks and extras they get, like with their parking passes and free zoo passes, and all that other shenanigans that his brother, pointed out when he was mayor. But I guess Tory doesn't like this because he says that this is being rammed down their throats, and he's calling for a referendum in order to vote on whether this is okay or not okay. But somehow he's okay with ramming gun control down, legal gun owners' throats. So it's a little ironic. He doesn't like, the whole taste of his own medicine thing. But
Now, are we going to talk about the secession of Toronto?
well, and I think that sort of has spurred out of this this thing is that like with the election coming and people not necessarily liking Ford and his ability to control things because it appears that the number of councillors and everything is not decided by Toronto but decided by the province. That there are people that are unhappy being part of Ontario with Ford in power, much like the not our president, it's not our premier. So yes, there is a one candidate that wants to secede. So yeah, Jennifer Keesmaat.
The casement.
What? Is she one of your people, Marty?
Yeah, that's what the name looks like. Yeah.
She a canoe inventing
She would be
American.
Yes, canoe enthusiast for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure she's paddled her own canoe a few times. But yes, she is. She's proposing that Toronto should secede from Ontario. What do you guys think?
Do it.
Yeah. I'm fully on board, but I'm sure for very different reasons.
Yeah, I'm okay with this. But do we give them the whole thing like with Quebec? Like you can take off, but like you've got to take your debt with you.
No, so you know what? Here's what I wouldn't even need to go that far. You can take off, and you're on your own. Your garbage needs to stay in Toronto. Your septic needs to stay in Toronto. You need to have your own, like, your power needs to generate from yourself.
Your tourists. Yeah, I don't want you flying up Highway 6 and killing people.
Like Toronto is, Toronto isn't entirely dependent on the surrounding area, and they
Well, that's because they've built buildings on all of their arable lands. I mean, they can't grow anything there anymore.
Fools.
Good luck. No, cities should be self-sufficient. It would stop Toronto's from occurring. It is a bad idea to have a city that is entirely dependent on the surrounding area.
Well, I mean, I think over the 2 years we've been doing this, we've had some creative ideas of things that we would like to see happen to Toronto. But yeah, if they want to fuck off, they can fuck off. I think that would
that'd be glorious.
It would solve a lot of problems for everyone else in Ontario. I think.
Now, what is is it gonna what is her intention? Is that they'd be the country of Toronto, or they'd be a province of Toronto?
I mean,
hopefully from Ontario, but what does that mean?
I mean, hopefully she'd want to be their own country, kind of like the Vatican. But I mean, their own province would at least, like, if you want to have a gun-free province of Toronto, that's fine. I don't need to live there or do anything there. I don't shoot guns.
Just getting them not voting in our elections would be glorious.
Yeah. Like that would.
As we talked about it earlier,
yeah.
This city sucks. Anybody that chooses to live there is not intelligent enough to have a vote in our election, I think.
Well, I mean, anyone that lived there that didn't vote for Ford, at least if they voted for Ford, they have some understanding of economics and how things work.
Apologies to any of our listeners that live in Toronto, but you should fix yourself.
But yeah, I mean,
at this point, it's a choice.
Right.
But yeah, I don't have a problem with them taking off. They can fend for themselves. I'm good with it.
I encourage it wholeheartedly.
All right, shall we transition into some of our other topics here that'll maybe be a little bit quicker while we've got some time?
We're gonna do that one where like the Toronto house has the oldest tree.
Yeah, we could talk about that one.
It's like 30 years old.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, there's a.
Where's that one? What is that one? Which article? I gotta open it up.
I don't know if I put it in this one. It was a late submission.
Yeah, it was a late submission.
All right.
We're working on it, sir. Hang on, sir. Oh God.
But yeah, there's a tree on the front lawn of a home in Toronto. That's apparently the oldest tree in Toronto.
Oh my
I mean,
god!
it's a very nice tree, a very large tree, but the government wants to save the tree, so they are willing to buy the house.
Yeah, I'm just saying we would drop 14 trees like that in Owen Sound on a single street and not give a shit.
Exactly. I'm just looking at. I started laughing when I opened the picture and I just see it's like directly up against this shitty house.
I mean, it's a nice tree, and I'm all for saving the trees if it makes sense. But the money that they would spend to purchase the property, they could plant a heck of a lot more trees in areas that don't have as many trees, which would be more beneficial than saving this one fucking tree.
But look how close the tree is to the house with the peeling paint on the foundation. It's a cinder block foundation house.
Yes.
This house would be like $130,000.
They aren't saving the house. They're saving the tree, Tim.
Well, the tree's destroying the house, for Christ's sake, because its roots are growing into the septic system in the
it deserves to live.
That tree is cracking that entire brick foundation.
Yeah.
That is lifting that entire section of that house.
We can't open the windows anymore because the frames are bowing.
Yeah. I mean, this sounds like a homeowner problem, and they should have just got rid of the fucking tree long ago.
Holy shit!
Yeah, and planted a new one.
The guy's
the property is worth. Hang on a second. This is like government assisted housing, is what I thought.
Yeah.
And then it says estimates the property is worth about $750,000.
Oh shit! The guy's like,
guys, Toronto is shitty.
It is shitty
and expensive.
What would the lumber?
They're gonna buy this house. They're saying it's 350-year-old oak tree. Are you kidding me? That's not 300 years old. The guy's like, he's like, yeah, I went home on Tuesday night and I was going down to the basement with my husband who was going to pound a horse dildo up my butt, and I realized the foundation was cracking. Hey,
I was just gonna say, do you know who determined it was 350 years old? The guy that owns the house is trying to sell it, but no one will buy it because it's a shitty fucking house.
Yeah, with a giant tree that's ruining the house.
Tell me,
like,
Marty.
Oh, it's a heritage tree. The city should buy this, guys.
Marty, you tell me, how old is that house? How old is that house?
I don't know. That looks like a wartime house. Probably 50s.
That's 50s or 60s. Do you really think a tree was growing there when they built that house 1 foot away from that freaking oak tree?
No, not a chance.
Have you ever known anyone to lay brick 1 foot from an oak tree?
Yeah, they had plenty of opportunity to get rid of that tree.
They were too busy with the horse dildo in the basement.
The oldest tree in Toronto.
Oh shit!
You know what's older than that tree is that shed that's beside it.
That shed is an old looking shed.
So yeah, like it's ridiculous. The money they would spend saving that tree. They could plant so many other trees or do so much other more beneficial stuff than saving one fucking tree.
Look at the picture lower down.
How is this house $750,000?
Look at the picture lower down. The owner of this North York home seen here on November 2nd, 2000. They have a file photo from 2015 about this damn tree. Oh my god! And like the bricks are like piling up around this thing, like it's like lifting up the brickwork, and it's like, oh my god! You telling me you bricked around this tree?
Yeah.
Oh no! I was gonna comment the earlier photo. Like it looks equally as shitty. Like looks like nothing's been cleaned up at all in that backyard. But they're both from 2015.
This is even worse. It's like this is a drywall laying against the house on the outside. The oak is protected under the city's municipal code, which requires homeowners to get approval from council before chopping down the tree. Well, you know what we need to do? We need to go all Dougie on that council and chop down that council.
Yeah.
It's a heritage tree. I'm sorry. We're gonna have to let's edit this whole thing out. We're gonna have to edit this whole thing out. I didn't know it was a heritage.
That's insensitive.
Okay. This is what you gotta do. You have to get that house declared a heritage building, and let the two of them fight it out.
Yeah. See what happens. Well,
see who wins, the building or the tree.
Well, I mean, I guess, lucky for this guy, he's managed to find a buyer for the house, which unfortunately seems to be our government. Whereas our government seems to be unable to find a buyer for the pipeline.
What if the government were to
cut
that tree down?
To that, what government's buying this? Is it the city, or is it province, or is it federal?
The city.
Who's the dumbasses here?
The city.
All right. So again, probably 41 out of 47. 41 out of 47 need to lose their jobs.
Yeah. That's probably not going to happen now that Ford's in. Dougie's going to do his thing, but
you know what they should do? They should buy that house and they should cut that tree down. Buy the whole property. The city should buy that. And what they could do with the city of Toronto, they could cut that tree down, and if they spent like $600,000 on that property, then you cut that tree down, and all you have to do is sell BC six $100,000 should I be worried art projects, that they can make from the wood of that tree,
and they make a profit.
Old growth oak. Some think of all the great things you can build out of some quality oak.
My God, oh, dude, oak makes the best beams. The best beams.
The finest beams.
You can make some wicked supports for the pipeline.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that was great. I hadn't seen that article, so that was enjoyable.
Yeah, there's a couple other really funny ones in here, I think. But
here we were talking about carfentanil and terrorism.
Yeah,
and shit
there's trees that shouldn't be cut down. Yeah. Or like I said, the pipeline. We can't find anyone to buy it. Wonder why.
Wait, the one that we just bought for a premium?
Yeah.
So are you saying there's nobody else in the public sector that's willing to pay for the price that we paid for it?
Yeah, no, there's nobody that wants to go and buy the Trans Mountain pipeline by whatever deadline they've put in, because our government screwed the pooch on that big time and fucked it all up so that nobody wants to touch it with a 10-foot pole.
So yeah, that's. I mean, I don't even want to go into this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's more
like people seem to think there seems to be like a misconception that like we bought the new development, they were going to build this pipeline and instead our government's going to. No. We bought the old pipeline that already existed so they can get the fuck out of this country because they were fed up with dealing with our government.
Yeah.
That's what we bought.
Well, and the fact that I think that our government wasn't willing to deal properly with the protesters, which, of course, the proper solution would be wood chipping.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought we didn't like pipelines, but then we go and buy one.
Not only did we not deal with the protesters, we paid them to protest.
Oh, did that come back to bite us in the ass with foreign investment?
Apparently, that wasn't a great investment to pay your opposition to fight against you.
Live and learn. Live and learn.
I'm just gonna throw it out here. I wonder if it'd be easier to get a bulldozer than a helicopter for the podcast. That might be more efficient.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, are you not speaking as a member of the Grey Goose Ditch Fillers?
And as a equipment operator.
But would it be a killdozer? That's the question.
Can you show us that new tattoo?
Yeah.
Show us that new tattoo, Matt.
Yeah, the council being demolished is not the only recourse from the gun ban. Our very
Thank
own
God you didn't put your dick.
That's for taxationist theft tattoos only, Marty.
That's where the other 40% of it went.
Yeah. I guess more stupid things going on in Toronto or in the area.
Hard to believe, really.
Yeah, the police officer that leaked the information on the unconfirmed threat that Tim mentioned earlier in the episode has been suspended for leaking that information. Not that he really leaked a whole lot of information, because even in that there wasn't really anything to leak, other than that it might be some sort of a car attack that was on that day, but no location, no nothing else, just. There's been unconfirmed threats that there might be a car attack somewhere in the province. So So that officer is suspended, which I think is kind of bullshit. I mean, that's information that should have been sent out to the public.
Well, I was going to say, was the information inaccurate?
Well,
I didn't see anybody claiming that it wasn't accurate.
Yeah.
So it seems like there was information there was going to be a car attack, and our government was withholding that information from us.
Yeah, that sounds pretty par for the course.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a little quick update on that sitch.
Yeah. Not all heroes wear capes.
Yeah. Sometimes they wear uniforms.
Sometimes they wear uniforms and warn the public.
Sometimes they yell out that someone's a prick.
Yes, they do. Which is a hell of a segue. Ladies and gentlemen, listening to the podcast, you don't know the genius that was just unleashed upon you. But well done, Gavin.
Thank
and
you.
You will soon know.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that one?
No, I've been drinking too much. Can you start it off? I'll chime in.
Yeah, all right. I guess
I sent a link. Is this another one that we're going to blindside Marty with?
Yeah.
I think so.
The segue was so awesome. Good that we can't
content for the listener.
Trudeau was speaking today, was it?
Yes, at the Danforth.
He was speaking at the Danforth about the shooting that happened there, and there was a young gentleman in the crowd that was yelling out, and what was it? He yelled out, "You're a disingenuous prick."
You're a disingenuous prick. Yes.
Yeah, and I heard something about virtue signaling. I think in that I couldn't hear
something like. Yeah, you don't care about solutions. You're only here to signal, or like because Trudeau was on like personal days for days, and then he just came back to the little flowers on. And there's been like numerous Facebook posts pointing out that during the mosque shooting in Montreal, he was able to cry, but he certainly wasn't able to cry during the laying of the flowers at the Danforth site.
So maybe not the best venue for this guy to yell out, but I certainly do appreciate his comments because they do need to be said, I think, personally.
And to be honest, like this my sister actually said this. I said she's becoming quite woke, and she's actually listening to the podcast on fairly regularly, which is
our apologies.
Our apologies. Yeah. I said something about. I sent it to her, and I said he called Trudeau a disingenuous prick, and people were telling them all around him to shut up. And I said I agree with his message, but not really the venue. And she said, "Well, it's the only place he was guaranteed to find the guy. He's been on vacation for like a week."
Oof. It's true. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I agree with his message, but yeah, venue could have been better, but also,
yeah,
it needs to be said. Like, I mean,
he was called. Yeah, he was called. He was there to signal.
Yeah, and he got called out for it.
Well, if you look at what he's
doing that everywhere he goes.
If you look at what he stands for or what he signals that he stands for, diversity is our strength. I believe these people should keep their citizenship no matter what they do, because a Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian. You can be Canadian, go fight with ISIS, and come back to Canada. It's still be a Canadian.
We should be angry that we didn't do what we needed to do to stop a Canadian citizen from being tortured, despite the fact that they shouldn't be a Canadian citizen because they threw a hand grenade at,
the $40 million that he's given to Omar Khadr and the other three people who settled that we're aware of. God only knows what we're not aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, he called him a traitor. He yelled at him, called him a disingenuous prick. He stood there and suffered the slings and arrows of the popular people. The majority of the people who were there. Again, like most Canadians would have been outraged just that he was doing this at a venue. But in hindsight, now that I've had time,
inappropriate situation.
It is an inappropriate, but I still think like anyone like Brock Blazchuk, like anyone who can knock the shine off this guy whenever he speaks publicly is welcome, really, to do so, in my opinion. But
yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, there are consequences to everyone's actions, and this was a consequence of Trudeau's actions, and this guy will suffer the consequences of his actions.
Yes.
That's the beauty of, a free society. You know, you're free to be an asshole sometimes.
Yes, but you could argue
But-
that it was Trudeau's actions which led to the Danforth shooting. They, given the little amount of facts that we have so far.
Sure. I mean, there's, like I said, consequences to every action.
Yeah,
And
certainly
reaction
more
to
than the individual, than the heckler's actions. Like he didn't choose to have this person, brought into the country and probably given some sort of disability check because of his depression and whatnot, just to have him be good lookout for a drug dealing gang. Threaten his security guard.
Do we know where this guy came from? Is he
Toronto?
He's yeah. He's like one of the handful of cool dudes in Toronto, apparently. But
not the protest, right? I mean,
but that's part of the problem,
Oh.
Marty. It's like we deserve a thorough and transparent investigation and reporting on this situation, and we've been sitting here. We're in day number freaking 7, and we do not know where this person's from and when he came to Canada. Was he born in Canada?
That's what I was asking. Like, I've not seen that.
I bet you if he was a PAL holder, we would have had all of that info immediately.
Oh, guaranteed. If this dude is an irregular, like it would just be we would never hear a damn. I mean, very well he could be. Maybe he is an irregular, but I doubt it because seeing his brother was arrested like 2 years ago or something like that. But
yeah. All right, I guess some more news that's going on. Halifax has banned smoking of any kind. So with the updates to the pot legislation coming through, there's been a number of places that don't want you to be able to smoke pot anywhere. So Halifax has just said, yeah, you can't smoke anything anywhere. That solves that problem.
Yeah, that seems like. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see more provinces in that. I mean, like this, the same reason why we have smoking bans. They're just going to include marijuana in that now as well.
Yeah, and I can tell you for a fact that's coming to areas in and around Ontario very shortly as well.
Exactly. I see that coming everywhere.
Yeah, which just makes it even more like it's like, yeah, great, it's legal, but you can't do that anywhere. So good luck with that. You can own it. That's about it. Good luck.
Thanks for the vote.
Yeah.
We really haven't even talked about in terms of the impact of the marijuana in terms of the rights that are given away, in terms of, like with alcohol, they have to have some sort of suspicion that you're under the influence before they can order a breathalyzer. But with the way the legislation is currently for the pot, it's
they just have to smell it.
Nothing. There is nothing. They can order a blood test from you at any time, and if you refuse, you are immediately guilty.
So almost like they can come inspect PAL holders' storage.
Ooh.
Essentially.
Yeah,
there's a lot of rights that are being given up in this pot bill for all Canadians, whether you're a pot smoker or not. There is a lot of rights that are being taken away with this legalization of pot.
Yeah, you want some liberty? Okay, you got to exchange a lot of rights to get that.
Yeah,
so it's not really liberty.
Yeah, I don't think that's how liberty works.
No,
that sounds like the exact opposite of liberty.
That's liberal liberty,
and it's like.
Yeah,
it's legal, but it's only legal if I have the government sourced pot. If I have my own, my own source, and I can grow it, but I can only grow these plants and this height. And if I buy it from somebody else that's not the government, that's illegal. And and it's it's just the same as buying drugs today. Like it's just as illegal as buying marijuana off the street today. That remains the same. So it's. A lot of people aren't actually paying attention to what's going on with that marijuana stuff. But.
Oh, I know. I've had it. I've got a bit of an inside track on some of the stuff that's going to maybe come through, and it looks like they're going to have it be a bylaw in certain areas that, smoking in public is prohibited, which is kind of the route that Halifax has gone. But then what's defined as a public space is, obviously anywhere that is a public space, which is, like the public commons.
Yeah.
But also included in a public space is going to be like anywhere that is visible. Like if you're on private property but you are visible to the public, that's going to be considered a public space. So you can't be on your front lawn or your front balcony where somebody can see you.
Can't be on your own property. Yeah, you wouldn't want that.
But also, it's not just visible, but if they can smell it. So if your neighbor, like 3 houses down, smells you smoking a joint in your backyard, they can call up the bylaw enforcement and they can come and issue a ticket for smoking pot on your own property.
Yeah, but will the same thing apply to curry?
Well, of course not.
If I put it in with my smoker when I'm cooking ribs or something, how does that work?
You will get a fine. Although you might not, depending on. I think you're out of the area that I know that this bylaw is coming into effect, but or potentially coming into effect. I guess it hasn't been passed yet.
I don't give a shit about marijuana at all, but like this is just dumb fucking bullshit.
I'm with Marty, but I do care about liberty and anyone.
Like why bother legalizing it if you're going to make it so that I can't even smoke it in my own backyard?
Yeah.
But I guess it was to buy votes, and now the local government's like, we don't want that. We don't want to have to deal with the consequences of like drug addicts walking around and smoking pot and this and that and everything else. That's not what we want.
You're taking away more rights than you're granting. That's what I have an issue.
Yeah, well, that sounds exactly like government, right?
Sounds like liberal government for sure.
Yeah.
Liberal means lots.
Soon.
What
is that, Matt?
Yeah, Ontario's privatizing weed sales now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing. I guess the Dougie has probably done the greatest thing ever in terms of that. Instead of going through the ridiculous MCBO or whatever they're going to call it, that they paid a shitload of money to design the logo and then sold off the LCBO without this being part of it, and then it was now part of it, and all of that fiasco. Dougie was like, nah, fuck that. We're not going with that model anymore. We're going to privatize companies that can sell it, which, it's still going to go through government regulation in terms of who's going to grow it, but at least they're going to try the mostly free market approach, which is the better one.
Well, yeah, more free market than the OCS would have been.
Yeah. So that's a good thing that he's done. And I think that's more in line with what the people that actually voted liberal that wanted pot to be legalized or wanted. They didn't want to have to go to the liquor store or the pot only store to buy it. They wanted to go into a convenience store and buy a gallon of milk and 2 grams of pot and some chocolate bars and a bag of chips and some other munchies and then go about their day, right? Like that's what they wanted.
That's the thing I don't get about liberal and NDP voters is typically it's people who they seem to think of the conservatives as the problem. They want less government control and less this and that, and they end up voting for these systems that have way more government control. And it's just like, you guys wanted pot decriminalized. Why in the hell did you vote liberal?
Yeah, and then it takes a conservative guy to be like, let's just go free market on this. Yeah. Or like as free market as we can within the federal guidelines that have been set forth.
Let me get rid of this liberal. This is something everyone's on.
This is along the same thing. So like, everyone thinks that like, okay, I believe in gay rights, and so I vote liberal. And it's like, no, that they don't believe in the equal treatment of gays. They believe in special treatment and making them, different and their own class and their own vote. It's like,
oh yeah, but there's a whole gay
the rights for hierarchy,
right? Like it's cis.
I'm just saying, like, it's like
then gays, like, and now the trans people on top of that, right? So it's not even
right.
Equal
rights.
Like, yeah, it's
like if you believe if your goal is you want equal rights, then that's the conservatives. Conservatives are just treat everybody equal.
Yeah,
no special treatment. Yeah. Everyone's equal. Everyone has the same.
everyone always thinks the conservatives are like anti-gay and anti this and that, but it's just really like we're just like anti like large government for the most part.
Yeah.
Like, it's
I mean,
just like,
Yeah.
but it's just like if you go like if you think about it, like at the very beginning of every relationship you have, like if you go into like with a you've just met a gay person or like a person of color or like a minority or a Muslim, and it's just like right there, like you have to just go like, whoa. Like the government has said, if I say these things, then that's racism or like prejudice, and I can be charged with that. And it's literally the equivalent, like a societal equivalent of your mother saying, "Take your little brother with you."
Yeah.
You know, it's just before you've even begun and met the person like on a neutral standpoint and created your own impression of them, you know, by their actions.
You've already created an inequality.
The government's already upset you by saying you can't say this, you can't say that. This is what you have to do.
Yeah, you have to like them. And if you don't, even if it's for a legitimate reason, like they're an asshole, you can't say that. Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. But I guess going along with we're going to skip a few things in the show notes here. Well, I think this one ties in really well, and it segues into
Toronto is shitty.
The Alberta man who changed his gender to female so that he can pay less on his car insurance. Like this is a guy that's he's
That's off to you.
Yes, you found a way around the gender prejudice of the insurance business. Good for you.
The
sexism.
Yeah. He didn't hate the player. He found a way to fix the game, right? Like
Well, I don't know. Like I've been driving for like a long time, and it's just like I've paid for years. Like when I was like 17, 18, 19, like a year of insurance was worth more than my freaking car was.
Yeah, but just think how much less you could pay now if you decided that you were female.
Yeah, but how freaking dangerous was my car because I had to spend more on freaking insurance than I did on a vehicle.
Wow, that's only a danger to you
and everyone else within.
Yeah, well, they all have
distance.
They all have injuries too, so it's okay. But yeah, like this is the thing that's so weird. Like, so we have basically government-forced gender equality in the workplace, but not government-enforced gender equality in insurance things, and insurance is mandatory because government.
Yeah.
Like, does that not seem weird?
I think they just want the extra taxes.
Yeah, like, I mean, so kudos to this guy for, figuring out how the system works and using it to his advantage.
I mean, we talked about this before when they were talking about like executives at companies about how like, oh, all executives should be 50% female. And we're like, you're just gonna have people self-identify as female.
Yeah,
and then keep doing the jobs that they're doing.
Done. Yeah, but that
we made that joke like 2 years ago.
Yeah, that only ever gets enforced one way, right? Like if it's a company with all guys or mostly guys, it's you need to be 50-50. But whenever it's a company of all women, they're like, that's amazing.
I couldn't convince a guy at work to self-identify as a female today when the bathroom was backed up. I don't know what was wrong with it.
I've definitely done that at work a couple of times.
Oh, I tried to get him to do it right at Tim Hortons, but he was having none of it.
Well, see, this guy has found the awesome loophole for this whole thing. However, on the flip side of it, there's a barber now that has potentially violated human rights by not cutting a woman's hair, even though he wasn't really comfortable doing it because he never learned how to do women's haircuts. She wanted this particular barber at this particular barber shop to cut it, and is now feeling violated and discriminated against because he wouldn't cut her hair.
Is this like when a gay couple in the States drives like 68 miles out of the way past heat bakeries to get a gay wedding cake?
Yeah, it's kind of like the same thing.
Good for
Can
them.
I go back to the car thing? The car insurance thing?
Yeah.
No, we're past that.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Why did this guy need to change? Yeah, I gotta jump back. Why did this guy need to change his birth certificate and his driver's license? he was buying a Chevrolet Cruze. Isn't that all you need to identify as a female?
That's all you do. Like there should just be assigned. Yeah.
Yeah, you got a point there, Marty. This guy went above and beyond. It's really sealing the deal on that ruse there. Yeah.
Like it seems like that's all that should have been required. Insurance companies should have just automatically charged him the female rate at that point, right?
Yeah, the only thing worse would have been like a Miata, but
it comes with an extra large cup holder for that soy latte.
Yeah.
He's got to control all the power that Eco Turbo has.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on. That was my only.
Yeah, excellent point, Marty. Excellent point.
Wow. You got the details on that one.
Yeah, I mean this poor barber is there trying to make a living, and I'm sure clearly states that like it's a men's barber shop on the outside of his building or whatever in his advertising, and this lady goes in to say, "I'd like you to cut my hair," and he's like, I'm just not comfortable doing women's haircuts because I've never learned how to do them, so no.
You know what he should do? He should cut her fucking hair, and it should take 1.5 minutes.
Yeah, but the problem is like you know that this lady, like, she was going there to find confrontation and hopefully get a lawsuit or something out of this to get free money.
This 100%.
Cut her fucking hair, and it should take no longer than 90 seconds.
But like if he had gone,
you want the military buzz cut, eh? I can do that.
Yeah,
I do one haircut.
Like if you have to go into any business and convince them that to take your money, is that really somewhere you want to spend your money? Like if you go into I don't know if we can fix that. You're like, no, you guys totally can. Is that really where you're going to want to go and spend your money? Like if they don't want your money, there's a reason.
I'm sorry. This is a men's barbershop, and she says it was scary and upsetting. I was very polite. Like come on. A little bit angry, but more shocked and hurt. It's like, I'm sorry. Like I don't go into it like an absolute stylist.
Yeah. And go, I want a buzz cut, because they probably don't have the stuff to do it. Like I don't see what the problem is. Like if it said unisex,
people specialize in shit. It's called reality.
Yeah. Yeah, like if the sign said like unisex haircuts and she went in and asked for a haircut and they're like, no, we don't do women's cuts, then she'd have some sort of a leg to stand on. But it's a men's barbershop, and he politely said, I don't know how to cut women's hair. And then she got all offended. Like, would you really want a guy that doesn't know what he's doing to cut your hair? Like, do you want a shitty haircut? Because chances are that she would have complained that he gave her a shitty haircut because she's a woman and doesn't like women or something stupid. Like she would have found something to complain about.
Let's do some intern.
You walk into a dog groomer's and demand that they cut your hair.
Yeah.
If they refuse, is that a human rights violation?
Well, my assumed species is dog, so yes.
No, it doesn't matter. Like, oh, you only cut dogs' hair? Doesn't matter. You can cut mine as well. You're discriminating against the human race. Okay. And you must cut my hair.
Yeah, and I want to be on all fours on that table with the leash thing around my neck and my midsection so that I don't move around too much.
And then let's go one further. If I walk into a butcher shop and demand they cut my hair, do they have to?
Obviously.
If you guys go like Google image Erica Croft haircut, then this is again. He should have just cut her fucking hair in 90 seconds. And
Are you implying that she may or may not have a butch haircut?
I've seen Marines with that haircut.
Yeah. I'd say she could storm Iraq with that haircut.
Could you watch by it?
Like, there's businesses, there are companies, there are individuals that specialize in a certain thing in a certain trade. To expect them to do something else entirely is unreasonable, and it's not a human rights violation. It is, you are going outside of their specialty. You're going outside of their skill set. You can't
Also-
demand that they do something that is not their trade.
Even inside their trade and skill set and everything else, you have absolutely no right to the services of others. Like,
You're right. Yeah, except
You are right, except for in
the
Canada.
human rights shit.
Yes, exactly, Tim. Yeah.
yeah, but like
It's there
that's
for all of us, although few people use it.
yeah, but then so like how does ladies'
You have
night
to be real,
exist?
you have to be a real
you know?
cunt to use it.
Private businesses are allowed to discriminate all they want. Like ladies' night is a thing that exists where women don't have to pay cover and men do. That's
You are allowed to
discrimination.
discriminate against men. That's allowed in the human rights tribunal.
I remember when I first moved out of small town Ontario into the city, and I was driving to work, and I saw the Portuguese Club. I was like, "Oh, geez, that sounds like fun. I wish I could get a membership there," but I never tried because I assumed they wouldn't allow me because I'm not Portuguese.
You assumed correctly.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
How's that place
Yeah.
doing?
They're booming. There's lots of pork chops in there. They love that place. I guess we got a couple other quick ones here. Wasaga Beach government computer was held ransom. We need random Dave. We need random Dave on this one because I think this is local to him. But yeah, I guess they got some ransomware on a couple of computers and they demanded some Bitcoin payments. I don't know what they were surfing to found that.
Oh, so they actually spent the money?
Yeah.
They negotiated apparently.
Oh,
they got it
God.
down to like a third of the price though.
That's probably about the first
so-
time that the government's ever negotiated to get the price down on something.
So we're not used to negotiating with anyone else.
That's
Back.
100,000 for an OCS logo?
Yeah.
We'll pay too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The town of Wasaga Beach says all the data was locked April 30th as part of a ransomware scam in which malicious software is utilized to block users from using computers until a ransom is paid. The scammers initially demanded 11 bitcoins worth approximately $144,000 at the time to release the 11 servers. So
Did they threaten to strike if they didn't get it?
Yeah.
shit.
Well, I want to know what who's responsible for that.
We're
Like,
paying someone for who triggered the ransomware.
Yeah, like who was surfing porn and clicked on the wrong thing and downloaded the software and then let it spread to all of those, like, because
The better question is, how do you become the ransomware scammer that gets paid the $140,000?
yeah. So if you're a ransomware scammer and you listen to the show, please let us know how we can
Please
get in on this.
sponsor the podcast.
So feedback at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Let us know how we can get in on this.
Click the link below to ransomware at Canadian Patriot Podcast.
It was like living in a spy movie. It was like living in a spy movie, said Chief Administrative Officer George Vader-Boncourt, who made the decision to pay the hackers after seeking expert
Okay,
advice.
that's a fake name. That's the guy.
Yeah,
Guys,
he's totally the guy responsible.
I solved it. That's the guy that did the ransomware right there. That's a fake.
Georgie Fat Fingers.
Yeah.
It's 35,000 paid.
George Vader is the guy that did it. Yes.
Yeah.
35,000 paid seemed like pennies. So he's already doing the suggestive shit. It's just like they demanded 144,000, but 35,000 seemed like pennies. It's like, isn't it like pennies, voters? Yes, it's like pennies.
That was his plan all along.
There was never any ransomware.
it was his computer. He's the one that just agreed.
Yeah.
Probably put
It's
it
like
on his
an
credit
MS
card too. Yeah.
It's an MS Paint drawing of like the money bag.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the cartoon money bag.
Jesus.
Yeah, probably paid it with his credit card to get the points too, and then got a company check from the government to pay it off.
Alexa, how do I get ransomware?
Oh man!
How to make ransomware?
All right, I guess we've got two more quick ones here, and these ones are kind of funny ones. So there was a van driver that was fired for splashing people the other day.
Just a real shitty thing to do, bud. Enjoy your unemployment.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess some guy driving his van down the street when there's puddles and splashing people.
He was so obviously splashing people, like swerving like 3 feet to the right just to splash the shit out of people.
Yeah,
I said,
caught on the dash cam.
Yeah, the rear-facing cam in the car in front of him.
Yeah.
All right, we can blame that guy, or we could blame our shitty urban planning that has the streets all fucking.
That's what I said. Why don't we charge the city for not having adequate runoff? And then more government. Like I said, like if the 3 people in a row that he splashed were the wrong color, like would he be charged with a hate crime? Like this is a very.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He drove towards every minority, every visible minority. It was awful.
Maybe he was just trying to clean off his truck.
It's his way of washing the homeless.
Or it was hot out. Maybe he was trying to cool them off.
Maybe he was watering the lawn.
Yeah.
Anyway, seek out the video, listeners. It was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, I mean it's a dick move.
Kind of a dick move, but it's since it's already done, you might as well watch the video.
Yeah, if you can't laugh at it, right?
Yeah, you're part of the problem.
The last story and the most important story of the evening. Justin Trudeau is set to have brunch with a star from Queer Eye. So very important meeting of two minds. Very, very.
Well, I'm sure they're not hoping for the minds to be meeting.
Well, I guess that depends on who you ask. But yes, Justin Trudeau is set to meet with Antoni Porowski, I believe is his name. I don't want to butcher it, but
they'll be in Montreal.
Interesting.
To celebrate Pride, and you have a chance to win a trip to join them.
Yeah, they'll be partying it up. Yeah, they'll be partying it up, but special Pride themed brunch.
Yep.
Of course they're having brunch. They couldn't just have lunch or breakfast. It's got to be brunch.
Yeah.
And this is a fundraiser for the Liberal Party.
Interesting.
So anyone who donates to the party is entered for a chance to win return airfare and 2 passes to the event. Says the advertisement that is disguised as an article on our Canadian news media.
Interesting. Wonder who's paying for this.
Wow. So the money goes directly to the Liberal Party of Canada.
Correct.
Yeah.
This is what you would call a native advertisement.
But then who's paying for Trudeau to fly out there and for his brunch and his security detail?
Ooh. Do you know the answer? Because I was going to guess it was that chef from BC.
They're probably he's probably the guy cooking the brunch, so he's going to get paid probably.
Okay.
No, I think he's probably going to be paid to be there to cook the brunch.
Okay.
I assume that Trudeau was going to use his savings from his 8 hand jobs for the price of 7 to fly himself out there.
Or maybe he's going to get a loan from his nanny who'd recently got a raise.
Is it Will Baker? Was Will Baker the Greyhound bus killer going to pay for it? Do you even know the answer, or is this rhetorical?
No, I think the answer is the taxpayers. I'm not entirely sure.
Sorry.
So that would be the
victim over this.
Is what you're saying? The victim.
Yeah. The victims of the government are going to be the ones paying this. Yeah. But very important meeting of 2 very prestigious individuals.
I just pulled the article up and I'm trying to figure out which one's which here. They kind of look the same to me.
Yeah, well.
It's like if they touch, then space and time is going to collapse in upon itself.
Well, something will.
Yeah. Something's going to collapse for sure.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some fentanyl hotel rooms.
All right. Let's close this this shit show out, I guess. So
It's been a 2-hour monstrosity. Holy.
yeah. Well, I think it's been a fun ride. A little black pilling, a little humor, so pretty much par for the course. But yeah. Well, I guess this one's a little bit not so cool. But the petitions, you can still use oneclearvoice.ca to get out there and send out a bunch of letters all about handgun bans, which we know don't do shit. So hit that. It'll send it out to the current 47 councillors in Toronto, and I think Goodale and Trudeau. But e-petition 1608 is officially closed. And as of about 30 minutes before the closing time, there were 86,638 signatures, which is roughly 4% of the licensed gun owners in Canada, which is pathetic.
Pathetic.
Keep going, jackasses.
You know, we are our own worst enemy. Like, if you can't get behind this to get C-71, like, there's 2 million of us. Like, every single one of those 2 million people should have signed this. And not just that, we should have had more than 2 million, because there have got to be other individuals that are not licensed gun owners, that are not idiots, that understand that C-71 is not going to do anything to make their lives any safer. You know, so kudos to the young gentleman that started this petition. He is amazing and deserves all of the credit and respect in the world. And to every one of the 8,638 people that signed this, everyone that didn't, you suck.
Yep, you're disingenuous pricks.
Yeah.
Hecklies.
Yeah. But that's...
Yeah, you should probably move to Toronto if you didn't sign this.
Yeah. And then we will wall in the city, and you can live there happily in your own country and or province. I don't really care which.
You have, yeah. If you didn't sign this petition, you have moved to Toronto in your heart.
Yeah.
And you likely eat brunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Big fan of brunch.
Yeah. Probably wear loafers.
Probably have a favorite melon ball.
With no socks.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably drink some really shitty, like, double IPA or some nonsense like that.
Overhopped shit.
Yeah. But on that note, Tim, where can our listeners find you?
You can find me at facebook.com/Tim'sGoodT-shirts.
Excellent. Matt?
Instagram.com/McPhersamax.
Marty, where can everybody find the show?
You can visit us at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Like us on Facebook at Facebook.com/CanadianPatriotPodcast, or email us at Facebook or at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com.
Yeah, tell us all about how we can get into the ransomware game, because Patreon is good and all, but we need more money to buy more helicopters. So if we can extort it from the government, I'm happy to do so. I guess you can find me on the Instagrams at Urbex_GTA. Also, in October 13th and 14th, Ragnarok Tactical is hosting a medical training from Spent Brass Solutions. It's not going to be cheap. It's $450 I believe. But it's probably going to be some of the best medical training, which is actually going to make a difference in events like we've talked about earlier in the podcast, a lot more so than banning guns. This is going to be pretty much the closest you can get to TCCC or Tactical Combat Casualty Care in Canada. And the guy that's coming up to teach this is unbelievable. His credentials are like a page long. He's a veteran that's been in the sandbox and everything else. But if you go to Ragnarok, and I think CTP shared it as well, so you can find out all about it there. But seriously,
it's not Kyle, is it?
No. His mom might be attending the class though.
Good for her.
Yeah, but Kyle will not be there. But seriously, you should consider doing it or going elsewhere and getting some medical training, because that's super important and, like I said, is more effective at saving lives than any sort of handgun ban. And on that note, I would like to remind our listeners that you are the true north, strong and free.